Hello and thanks for joining us here at Tech 24. I'm Annelise Borges. Coming up on the program, the tech fight against Ebola. In today's show, we talk to Dr. Jeff Dio, who created a germ-fighting robot currently being tested in Liberia. Also in this edition, the story of an app helping Ugandans battle corruption with their smartphone. The world's most deadly Ebola outbreak has already claimed thousands of lives and set alarm bells ringing throughout the international community. Every hour, 5 additional people are infected in Sierra Leone and a similar number in Liberia. Despite the World Health Organization's announcement that the epidemic represents a public health emergency of international concern, no decisive global action has been taken. But some individuals have stepped up to the task and are using technology in surprisingly new and inventive ways. We're now going to cross over to one of these individuals, Dr. Jeff Dio. You created a germ-fighting robot that is now being used to fight the Ebola virus in places like Liberia. How exactly does the robot work?
The TrueD does a fairly simple thing, actually. It uses a wavelength of light called UVC. UVC is an artificially created wavelength. It's not found in nature. It's not like ultraviolet light that you think about, like tanning beds and black lights and things like that. So it floods the room with this ultraviolet light, and then it has a sensor array on top. And what it does, it measures what's reflected back from the rooms. And so basically the easiest way to think about what it does is it illuminates the walls and ceilings and floors, and they become the light source. And it measures what comes back. And we have it programmed to kill whatever we're after at that time. Most commonly, we're after staph and E. coli and the typical hospital-acquired infections. And it won't turn off until reflected back to it is an appropriate dose or a germicidal dose of that wavelength.
And how exactly is it working in the fight against Ebola?
We deployed 2 of these units to Liberia in the Ebola treatment units. One's at a clinic called the New Island Clinic, and the other one's at Elwa. Elwa is the hospital where the 2 Americans contracted Ebola. And what we're doing is we're using to decontaminate the rooms. What we have found in the United States and other places is that when you manually clean a room or any kind of a healthcare space, you tend to leave places behind. You just can't see what you've done. And so what this device does, it takes all that manual part away from you, and it doesn't give you the opportunity to miss anything. So most commonly what we're using it for is when a patient is taken from the suspected case ward into the confirmed case ward before the next patient is put into that space. We were decontaminating that space. The device is pretty complicated. It's a very sophisticated device, but using it is extremely easy. I can literally teach somebody to use it in about 10 minutes. And I'm in communication almost daily with some of the staff, and they're using it every day in that setting. They also go ahead and decontaminate other places, like they decontaminate where they get dressed, they decontaminate some other sites. And one time was inside the unit dressed in all my gear, and we ran out of water for decontamination. I actually used the device to decontaminate myself within the suit. You can't be in direct line of sight of the device itself, or it can damage your skin. But if you're in all the equipment, you actually can be in direct line of sight of the device, and it works quite well for that.
So you spent some time on the ground in Liberia. Give us your opinion whether or not technology can be a game changer in the fight against Ebola, and how.
Technology can have a tremendous role in it. The main thing we need right now are an increased lab space. Now, this type of technology can help in the ways I just described for you, but it could also be used in cases, the government building, for instance, where a patient dies or contracted Ebola. They can use it to decontaminate those places fairly quickly and efficiently and with 100% coverage so that the space can continue to be used. There are other technologies. There's mapping technologies that are being used right now, a very sophisticated mapping that'll help do some predictive modeling of where the outbreak will occur. There's hopefully going to be some rapid tests. Right now we have a rapid test for malaria, rapid test for dengue, some other things too. We're looking for rapid tests for Ebola to help you do contact tracing and things like that as well. But right now there is some role for technologies. Most of what's going to happen won't be deployed until later. We were fortunate that the TrueD was already being used all across the United States. It's in the UK. I know there's some in Saudi Arabia and other places around the world. We were fortunate that device was already being used and had already been developed and was so effective against Ebola. Other technologies, unfortunately, are going to take time to develop.
Now, one final question. In your opinion, how long until we beat the virus? Can we win this fight?
We're going to win this fight. We're going to win this fight. We are not close to it right now. I think all the data that you see coming out of the CDC, the World Health Organization, would confirm this. I saw this when I was on the ground working the units as well. That virus is winning, and it's winning big. And now, so we eventually will win. We'll eventually get control of it. The only question is how much devastation is going to occur before we can get control of it.
Dr. Jeff Dio, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, in other news, people in Uganda have a new ally in the fight against corruption, a mobile phone app which allows citizens to report anonymously when budget allocations for health centers and schools fail to reach their destination. It's called Action for Transparency.
Like many schools in Uganda, the shadow of corruption hangs heavy over this campus. Government funding to pay for basic necessities often doesn't arrive.
It is very difficult to carry out the proper running of the school. Buying books, buying pens, buying chalk, it becomes very hard.
The 500 students here are meant to take an exam every month, but with such dire lack of resources, they're only able to take 2 tests per year. But now a smartphone application called Action for Transparency is working to change that.
We're developing tools and working with networks of communities to provide data on budget allocations to schools and health centers, and we hope later other sectors. And also offering through our app and website a platform where people can report without fearing.
All that is needed is a mobile phone or computer with internet access. Then using the GPS-enabled app, a user can find out the number of staff allocated to an institution and the amount of money approved and dispersed. If they suspect funds are being misused, the user can simply click on the app's whistle icon to anonymously send an instant report to the A4T website and their Facebook page, which will then be passed on to the concerned authorities.
We want to know if the government says this amount was released and dispersed to a school X. Did that exact amount reach the school? And if it reached the school, was it used in accordance to the budget?
The pioneering project is being funded by the Swedish International Development Agency along with several partners and is being piloted in 3 Ugandan districts. The agency says phones were chosen because they're technology readily available in Uganda, and it's hoped by putting the power in the hands of citizens, corrupt authorities will be the ones getting schooled.
That's all we have time for. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Tech24. Don't forget, you can get in touch with us. Send us your feedback on Facebook or on Twitter. Our hashtag is Tech24. And we leave it today with images of the hamster wheel standing desk, which offers a healthy, albeit strange, solution to health issues associated with sitting down at one's desk all day long. And for those interested, the author of this impressive project has released a DIY guide for making your own. Thanks for watching. Stay with us here on France 24.